I was a bit tardy this morning by virtue of I'm finishing a newsletter. I hate that word newsletter. It sounds so boring. But in my life on this planet and in my 38th year of professional sort of commentary from the days of talk radio up till now, and TV and radio and all this. This is the singular, one of the most important events of all time. And it requires a thorough review, a thorough breakdown, and a thorough explanation, which unfortunately we are not prone or able or amenable to doing. It's not our style. The results of the release of these documents, the JFK files, is so critical because for so many people, for the first time, this is their JFK the movie. This is their Oliver Stone movie. This is their red pill moment. This is it for them. They're seeing documents and yellow and red and there's something about seeing the grainy delivery of these files and documents. It looks eerie. It looks like they were doing this. And even though it may not say specifically who the killer was, the extraneous collateral information that deals with how horrible the conspiracies are that permeate and infect our government, and to this day remain so, is worth everything right there. It is so important. Do not become alarmed if somebody reads sometimes too much into this. I've seen these people and I find myself correcting them. Well, now we know Israel did it. It's like, no, that's not what it said, but there is a very great deal of suspicion even that, don't discount it, but don't jump. That's not it. It's perfect. I really want to spend, my dear friend, some adequate time with this. And I want to go through this. And I want you to be as how do we say this? As particular as possible, as what's the word? As particular as possible, as scientific as possible, as we go through what we're seeing right now. So make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel right now. This is critical because 80-something% of the people who watch our videos aren't subscribed, which I find horrid. So in an event, watch, focus, pay attention, listen very carefully. But first, this. Listen to me. Are you drowning in debt? You're not alone. New reports show the average person is buried under $8,674 in credit card debt, with total consumer debt soaring to a staggering $104,215, including mortgages, auto loans, student loans, and credit cards. It's a financial crisis, and without a real solution, many will keep spiraling deeper. That's why I want to introduce you to a powerful secret weapon that has helped so many regain control. They specialize in consolidating all your debts into one manageable monthly payment and even negotiate a settlement so that you can pay less than you actually owe. Think about this. They've already settled over $275 million in debt. Think about that. Helping people break free in an average of just 28 months. I've personally recommended their services to friends and clients who needed a way out, and now I'm bringing it straight to you my loyal Lionel Nation family. So don't wait. Book a free consultation today, right now, at nodebtwithlionel.com. That's nodebtwithlionel.com. The link is right under the title here. It's time to take back control of your finances. Act now. Get out of debt and start living the life you deserve. There is this thing that we talk about sometimes. It's called this red pill event. We always talk about it. Those of us in the conspiratorium, you know what I'm talking about. We've had those moments where we say to ourselves, some event, something that really changed kind of the way we thought and the way we think about it. For me, it was 9/11. There's no doubt, ifs, ands, or buts. It was that moment that was everything to me, forever changed me, forever affected my ability to look at, look at life, if you will, if that makes any sense. And it affected me to such an extent that I lost a lot of friends. People thought I was crazy, but I knew 100%. I knew that what I was saying was correct. I knew. I don't need affirmation. I don't need people to explain anything to me. I don't need anybody to come along and tell me anything. I don't need it. What I do need sometimes is for people to understand and enjoy with me this wonderful aspect, this wonderful thing called the facts of the case, and to be able to read this thing carefully. Now, what President Trump did is so monumental because it is showing everybody around the world our dirty secrets. There have been other people are just, and frankly, sometimes it's kind of like, and for good reason, they're kind of laughing at us. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And everybody will have their own take, their own idea of their ability. And remember, today, you're going to be talking to people who are going to say, oh, I understand this, it's this. And you know what you do? You say, that's right. You figured that out. Encourage them. Don't do like I do sometimes. I always correct people, and I'm getting away from that. Sparky says, were your boys, the Dulles brothers, sketchy? Again, there's that. As I and everybody have said from the beginning of time, Sparky, the Dulles brothers, John Foster and Alan, probably were more responsible for getting this, and Alan Dulles in particular, this post-OSS intel world without a doubt. But you see that? That shows I know something you don't, and I appreciate that, and you're right. But get ready. People are going to say like, well, we knew that. There was people will take with this what they want, and however, listen, you do with it what you want. Let me know. God bless you. God bless you. Whatever you want to, just revel in the truth. Celebrate the truth. Demand the truth. Because if you look at this, 2025 is called the JFK Assassination Files Release. I hope that's not it, but it is, and let's say something right off the bat, a limited hangout. It is not everything, and I don't know if everything can be released, but nonetheless, it is something which is critical. It's how do we say this? It's a limited hangout that reinforces a conspiracy that everybody actually knows is true. Raul says the people today are over 60 since JFK's end. Yes, that is true. They were probably, and at the end who were involved, they're probably dead. Most of them are dead. KL, thank you. That is correct. By virtue of the math, 62 years ago, you are correct, sir. You are indeed correct. But looking at this thing very carefully, remember, this is not everything. I don't know what this document dump is. That's good. It is a limited hangout. It is, and I'm not saying it's deliberately done. I'm not saying that President Trump or Bondi or Tulsi Gabbard or whatever. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that it's better than nothing. Sam Muffaletto says, the guy on the far left in the JFK thumbnail, it was my journalism professor, a longtime friend. He ended up covering Ring the Ruby trial. Oh, covering the Ruby trial or trail? The trial. Racehorse, was it Racehorse Haynes? Where it was one of the worst, or was it Melvin Belline? I'm confused. Racehorse Haynes, I think, or Melvin Belline. And Ruby had the quickest case of spontaneous onset cancer anybody has ever seen. Now, yesterday, always be remembered, March the 18th. Wait a minute. And now a bit of enigmatic perspective. The more I examined details, the more isolated I become. I discovered how witchy my town was and found myself persona non grata. I will not trade off. Nor should you. Nor should you indeed. I always like your messages. Arcane, recondite, but always welcome. Thank you. So the documents released, about 80,000 quote pages of previously classified documents, which I don't know why, related to, of course, the assassination of JFK. And this still is an event which, I don't know, for the younger folks, still absolutely changed the way we thought. It changed our lives more than 9/11 or anything, because it was kind of, you knew something was up. And that November the 22nd, that date, like 9/11, it will always be there. You know, yesterday, December 7th, November 22nd. The release, authorized by President Trump, never done by Biden, was met with anticipation. With great anticipation by historians and researchers. And I'm reading today all of the CIA, the FBI, the JFK historian experts, all clamoring about, saying they're just saying, again, repeating the same stuff we've always known. But that's okay. Let them speak. I don't care. As long as you come away with the understanding that there's something fishy to this case. That's all we care about. As long as you know there's something fishy about this case. That's it. You hear what I'm saying? There's something fishy about this case. Whatever it is, however you do, as long as you don't, like one friend of mine says, oh, I think it's a thing. I think that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. As long as you don't think that, you're okay. Okay? So have at it. And I am seeing so much bullshit, but I'm saying let it go today, as long as everybody's talking about this. It's the most important case. Now, for those well-versed in the history of the assassination, the release of this information offered, little in terms of groundbreaking revelations. Many, I think some people were shocked because they didn't know any of this before. Either way, that's terrific. But it served instead as kind of a confirmation of, for lack of a better word, a long-held, suspicions of a conspiracy. And let me tell you something right now. 100% there was a conspiracy. Absolutely. The bullet in the windshield, that's it. That's it. Everything else, you could talk about the gaping wounds, and that's important. But that's too much explanation. A bullet wound coming this way when the assassin is this way, that is per se. I put on YouTube, on X today, the best documentary from like 1988 is called The Men Who Killed Kennedy, The People Who Killed Kennedy. It is still superb. Superb. Badgeman, Lucien Sarti. It goes through everything. Now, for many Americans, however, who are unfamiliar with the intricate details of this incredible tragedy, the documents provided a kind of a revelatory glimpse into a kind of a darker reality, one where the government and intel agencies have obscured what really is the truth for over, think about it, 6 decades. Now, while the release does not fully unravel the mystery, that's true, it underscores, it explains the speciousness, the insanity of the lone gunman theory, which is the official theory of your government, except for the House Assassinations Committee, which said there's a probability of a conspiracy. The same people like Bill Barr, who said that Epstein became unalived himself, these people are still there. Not the same people, but this mentality. You have got to get out of the world you are living in and embrace reality, no matter how problematic it is, okay? I want to explain to you this limited hangout theory and also a little bit about the way the government works and how this is again, a huge moment. And also, most probably this, I don't know if it could be done today. I don't think so, but for not for the reasons that you think. The notion that Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone is absolutely axiomatic, period. Now, this review, of course, examines the significance of the release, what I'm going to be talking about, the nature of the information, the broader implications, and why it's critical, and what people aren't going to be explaining today. When I'm talking to you, in the way I speak to you, the way I'm explaining this to you, the way I'm rolling this out is the way it should be done. Immediately on some of these shows, they want to show you how much they know. You will meet this cliquey group of JFK researchers, the cool kids. The cool kids. Ladies and gentlemen, Therese Pollard says, love Trump. Oh, I do. Oh, I do, without a doubt. Thank you. But the cool kids, the insiders, are saying, oh, no, we knew this, or we've got all that. And they love to show you, I know this guy and that. And that's fine. Look, keep it alive. Are they of any influence? Not really. Do they help anything? No. They want to show you how smart they are. There are other people, I'm sorry, who are trying to sell books. And they're trying to give you the LBJ attitude, that LBJ did it. Well, LBJ certainly was a beneficiary, but we'll get to that later. I just want you to understand that the public, you should have no public trust in these institutions, and the assassination of JFK in Dallas remains still a defining moment in American history, not only for its immediate impact, but for how it changed everything. Remember, we lost our innocence. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. We were doing great, and this happened in front of us. It was like they did it in front of you, like that Epstein feller right in front of you. So we have to look about this. First of all, the Warren Commission. This was the greatest. This was Dulles. Remember, Dulles. Why is Dulles important? JFK kicked him off of the CIA, and then he's in the commission. You can't get better than that. You can't get better. This guy, Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford is not this innocent dude you think he is. We'll get to that in a moment. But it was established in 1964 to investigate the assassination. Why? To get rid of it. To just get rid of it. To dump it. So that LBJ can move on and say, for the long run, guy, it's like the 9/11 Commission. You always have a commission. Okay? Now, here we go. This is important. Now look at this. Reopen the Grand Duke Ferdinand case. Okay, thank you. Now, they came up with the assassination and concluded that Oswald, this is this former Marine, Soviet defector, he acted alone in firing the 3 shots from the Texas School Book Depository, killing the president, wounding John Connally. That was it. Finished, done. Let's move along. Even this Posner fellow said, yep, hit a book called Case Closed. Brilliant. This is called, for those of you, I'm sure you know this, the lone gunman theory. Makes sense, because the quickest way to get rid of somebody, especially when you've killed the lone gunman or when he's dead, is like, well, we'll never know. Let's move along. It's what governments want to do, and there is absolutely no truth to that whatsoever. But this is what your government told you. They told you this. Gerald Ford, at long last, our national. You lied to us, especially when you moved that bullet hole, which is what Nixon used later on to get that pardon. But anyway, we'll get to that later. They lied to you. Let me make sure you understand something. Your government lies to you. Now, this iteration of government under Trump, I don't believe it is. It wants to tell you the truth. But up till now, they looked at you. They looked at you and they said, oh, no. It's like a 3-card Monte. No, do not believe your eyes. No, we're telling you. But as early as 1966, public opinion polls began to reflect widespread skepticism, widespread disbelief, with a majority of Americans believing that the assassination involved a conspiracy. Let me remind you again, and I know you know this, but in case you're new to the show, the way conspiracy is used today, it means crazy. It means something insane. No. Conspiracy means an agreement between 2 or more people. Between 2 or more people. And this is the most important. That's all it means. That are planning something, that are in a confederation to bring something about. Conspiracy just means is the opposite of a lone gunman. If there's somebody else, it's a conspiracy. That's it. So conspiracy means more than one. Not conspiracy theory, not crazy. It just means more than one. That's all it means. And by 2023, there was a YouGov poll, whatever, that showed 54% of U.S. adults believed Oswald did not act alone. Who were these other people? Now, this is a feeling that's grown, of course, in the intervening years. And the most important thing that ever happened to this movement was, of course, Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone was the most important. Oliver Stone was it. So the release of these files, while voluminous, doesn't really provide the definitive bombshell that many had hoped would, lay conspiracy theories to rest or verify them or anything. Let me just tell you this. We still don't know who the guy was who fired. Don't know. It's not going to be in there, but that's okay. It's not going to be a rifle in there. And, hey, look, bullet fragments. Hey, the missing skull. No. Or the brain. No. But there are these historians, and I love this. Frederick Logeval of Harvard noted that the documents are unlikely to fundamentally alter, he believes, the established narrative. Well, yeah, that's true. You didn't need that guy. And this is, X was fantastic. Reading what people were saying. Sparky says, what about the theory that Oswald was trying to kill Connally and JFK was collateral damage? Great. You're kidding me. That's okay. You work with that one. They want to kill Connally and the prior assassination attempts to kill Kennedy before that. What is it, Tampa and Miami? What about those? Was this an additional one? Whatever. People just love to. That's okay. I don't think that's true, but John Connally? No. But that's okay. There's always going to be somebody who says, yeah, but that's not the real reason. It was the driver. It was it was Jackie. You know, there's always okay, fine, whatever it is, as long as you believe that it wasn't. In fact, my gut, whatever my belief, I don't think Oswald fired a shot had anything to do with this. Nothing. Nothing. How you like that? But if you read the ex post, oh, it's fantastic. Ex post facto, ex post, it's incredible. Now, for those who have studied the assassination and read it, and not studied it like watching theories like who shot JR, whatever it is, but some of these people have really studied it. The lack of new transformative evidence is not surprising. This is what I told you before. We knew this. It doesn't matter. It's rekindled interest. It's rekindled suspicion. The release, nonetheless, appears to be a carefully curated disclosure, a tactic known in the intel circles, as you know, as a limited hangout. And that strategy always involves the release of information that appears significant, but ultimately serves to kind of obscure the more critical truths, thereby maintaining the core elements of the cover-up while giving the illusion of transparency. Now, as much as we love President Trump, and we love him, he does not want this hanging around so that he can it gets in the way of his working with dealing with Putin and dealing with this and dealing with that. He wants to say, here's your goddamn files. Now leave me the alone, okay? You got it? Good. Here's your Epstein files. Now shut the up. There we go. Let's go. I got stuff to do. He doesn't want to talk about this forever. So it's a limited hangout. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Here's my question, Sparky, and everybody else. Where are the Kennedy family members? Where's that jerk-off Schlossberg? Is he still in rehab for whatever the hell he's doing? Where's Caroline? Where is this Profiles in Courage? Isn't this courageous? Don't you want to find out who killed your old man and your uncle? We haven't even got to RFK yet. Where's Bobby Kennedy? These people are the weirdest thing. They're like the royals when it comes to Diana. I don't talk about that. I know you love Bobby Kennedy, but he's hanging around that Conor McGregor, who was a dirtbag and a sicko, along with the Tates and all these other freaks, okay? Why Bobby is still worried about, every day I see geoengineering, and he's saying, oh, look at the red dye number 8. Who gives a shit about the red dye? Anyway, where's Bobby? He's been the most... This is your uncle. You brought him up every 5 minutes when you ran for office. Don't get me wrong. I think Bobby's great. I think Bobby's got a lot of baggage. What he went through as a kid, and the heroin addiction, and oh my God. But that's something to think about too. You would think about it, yes, finally. They're the most quiet. How about these parents? You can always tell the parent who had something to do with the missing kid when the parent doesn't go to the police every day and say, what happened to my kid? What are you doing about my kid? Nothing. They do nothing about that. Nothing. Why are the Kennedys so quiet about this? All of them. Rory, the documentarian. What about you? Not interested? The whole world is it, but not you? So the concept of a limited hangout, and I'm sorry, I know I keep telling you this, it's particularly relevant here because when you're examining the contents of the 2025 release, remember, a lot of people are going to say, well, that was great. Feel like, that was great. Well, okay. If you think that's it, that's terrific. Among the documents are, and by the way, there's something for everybody. Oh, the comments on Israel and Ben-Gurion. Oh, man, red meat. Go for it. Some things will never change. Now, among the documents are details of Oswald's activity in Mexico City in the weeks leading up to the assassination. You don't think that's interesting? Including his visits to the Soviet and Cuban embassies. What does that mean? Pretty good cover, isn't it? Kind of makes you think, now we know why. He's a commie. Really? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that narrative's working out. These visits involving contact with a KGB officer have long been a focal point for researchers. Aha! Thus, justifying and emphasizing and bolstering the notion of the lone gunman. He was on his own. He was a lone wolf. And the files also include CIA memos that reveal the agency's surveillance of Oswald, as well as its failure to share critical intelligence with the FBI. What does this mean? I don't know. Doesn't mean anything if there's a guy shooting Kennedy over here. Yeah, you keep looking at that. Yeah, he went to okay, yeah. He went to Mexico City at KGB. Yeah, you keep looking at Oswald. I got Lucien Sarti over here. I got my Corsican and my Sardinian and my Marseille snipers over here. I got Badge Man over here. I got all those guys over here. That's what I've got. And I've got the person to take the car and remove the windshield with a bullet hole in it, which completely establishes a conspiracy. But you keep looking at Mexico City and KGB. You go do that. And there's one striking document, which is a memo from November of '63, indicating that a CIA officer expressed great alarm over Oswald's activities, only for those concerns to be dismissed by higher ups. Oh, what does that mean? That's interesting. The revelation aligns with earlier findings, such as those reported by the Washington Post, well, there you go, in 2023, which showed that the CIA's monitoring and following of Oswald between 59 and 63 and its subsequent cover-up of those operations from the Warren Commission. You see where we're going with that? What do I don't care about that. Go ahead. Good. Yeah, of course. Of course. You got Angleton here and you got that fellow who committed suicide. You got all this stuff. Great. Keep looking there. The one I want to know is, who are the people who probably came in through Mexico? Maybe Carlos Marcello got a hold of him. Maybe somebody, because you want to get people. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to have a bunch of snipers and assassins, I want somebody from out of the country, because I don't know who this guy is. Somebody who nobody knows him, doesn't bump into anybody. If he's waxed, if he's taken out, you don't even know, nobody's missed. You don't have some family member. Hey, where's Uncle Jerry been? He went to Dallas. He was a sniper in the bed. You know that? No. See how interesting that is? Isn't that a great story? You keep looking at that. Keep watching that. Keep following all this stuff. Oh my God, we're letting this out. They're finding out. They're not finding out anything. I don't care about the Mexico City. That's nothing. Hell, who was it? Who was it? Brennan or somebody who was a commie. Okay. Now, for those unfamiliar with the history, these disclosures may seem revelatory, suggesting a level of, negligence or complicity or something on the part of the CIA. However, for those of us who might be a little bit more unrealistic, for scholars and researchers, they merely confirm what has been suspected forever, that the intel community withheld crucial information undermining the Warren Commission's investigation. And a lot of them simply don't want you to know what they do. Sam Muffaletto says, I know Judith Very Baker. Her books are a must-read. Also, the book Dr. Mary's Monkey. Well, there you go. Well, thank you. Now, let's go back to this. A lot of times the CIA says, I don't want you to know anything about what we're doing. I don't want you to know that we've got agents in Mexico City, or that we're talking to this guy or that guy or anybody. Do you understand what I'm saying? We will always cover up everything. Remember, who was it? I know Helms talked about it, but when Oh, who was the fellow? Remember the one who was he drowned. Remember him? He was an expert canoeer, Colby or whatever. He drowned. They don't like people talking about anything. They don't tell you anything. They don't want you to know any. They don't want you to know. We don't want you to know anything about Angleton or anything. That's who we are. So consequently, we're not going to be helping out. First of all, they're also a turf battle, but we're not going to help you out, Warren Commission. You're just we're the CIA. Stop it. We saved the world from fascism. We need JFK files merch in the Lionel store. Well, I don't want to poo-poo this, but they are kind of boring to me. But that's okay, as long as it inspires people's interest. There was a 2013 article by the CIA historian David Robarge, and it was partially declassified, and it admitted, get this, that the agency concealed relevant information from the commission, a fact that's fueled public suspicion of a broader conspiracy. Okay. Great. You keep looking over there. I want to know, well, who shot him? Well, don't worry about that. Let's talk about how we kept the information. You look over here. And a lot of times people don't know what's important and what's not. It's the sleight of hand. It's the diversion. It's the idea that they want you looking everywhere else for what's going on. Sometimes people will jump at this. How about the one that says, the letter says, JFK says supposedly that Joe Biden is a traitor. Okay. If you believe him, that's fine. Okay, people love that. How about the Israel? They don't mention Israel. Oh, that was great. That was red meat, wasn't it? Yeah. What difference does it make? Okay, good. Fine. Okay. Now, the 2025 files do not provide conclusive evidence of a CIA orchestrated plot, but they do paint a rather, shall we say, damning picture of an agency either grossly incompetent or deliberately obstructive, or that had really nothing to do with this. They actually had nothing to do with this. Because we just say CIA. It's intel. And many times intel has nothing to do with the people whose names you know. Did you know that everybody loves to talk about Mossad. You know who the real guys you never hear about? Amman. This is the military intelligence in Israel. Do you ever hear about them? Nope. There are 17 or 18 different, how do I say this? Intelligence agencies in the United States. 17. Because, Tulsi Gabbard is DNI. She's Director of National Intelligence. When I want to get something done, the first thing I'm going to tell everybody, and they're going to tell me, is don't link it to us. If you want to do this, we'll do off the book, something special ops, whatever you want to call it. Whatever this is, we'll lead you. But this is we have nothing to do with this. This is your thing. We know what you're doing. Plausible deniability. We got enough problems. We have nothing to do with the assassination of a president. None. Leave us out of here. Sam Muffaletto says Judy Baker was Oswald's mistress in New Orleans in the summer of '63 in New Orleans. She comes with the receipts. Great. That's interesting. But since Oswald had nothing to do with it, what good is she? I mean, she might help, but it doesn't matter. That's good. That's good. Is she going to be able to tell us who the shooter is? No. See what happened? See what you did with that right there? How about this? How about the landlady? How about the boarding house woman? How about Tippett's wife? How about the guy who found the gun and it was a Mauser versus? How about, what good does this do? It's just interesting. Ooh, really? I know a guy, believe it or not. What about Oswald's daughter? Marina's still alive. She's like 83 or something like that. What about her? You see what we're doing with this? You see what you're doing? How about that crazy guy? All these others, oh, I was the killer. Oh, I did. Okay, good, good, good. Talk to him. Talk to him. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Just keep talking. Throw somebody's name in there. Give me a real nutcase. Any nutcase? Oh, this guy's good. Get him in prison. Good, I like that. Mix it up. I don't want anybody to know anything. If I'm responsible for this, I don't want you to know anything. I want you to think it's Oswald or not or whatever. I just want to mix it up. Throw in about the Jews and throw in about Israel and throw in about Connolly and LBJ and Mac Wallace and Billy Saul Estes and release this. And I knew that Nixon one time, and then Nixon had the conversation with Gerald Ford about the bullet hole. Just keep throwing, mix it up. And then, after a period of time, and this is the most important, then and only then will we understand what's happening. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. The bottom line is simply this. Who were the people who killed the president? More than one. More than one. And all of the folks who were, more importantly, involved in the cover-up afterwards. Who was the person who said, clean the car up right after the assassination? Who was the person who had, they used this car later again, which is to me the ultimate. Who was the person who had the windshield repaired? Now, I don't know about you, but no, let's talk about Mac Wallace. Let's talk about, that's an interesting person. Well, let's talk about the woman who's, and the boarding house lady who was, okay. Now, I'm not trying to in any way dismiss this, but it's irrelevant. It doesn't, it's interesting, sort of. It's good. It's kind of interesting. I like when they say somebody will come along, especially on YouTube, and they'll say there'll be some guy who claims to be the assassin. You see, the release also includes, I like this, ballistic reports, witness testimonies that challenge the lone gunman theory, particularly, this is important, the notion that Oswald fired all 3 shots within the time frame of 4.8 to 5.6 seconds, as determined by the Warren Commission. And then you have people who say, it's easy to do with a bolt action Mannlicher Carcano or Mauser, depending upon what it is. Now, the commissions, and remember this, the head wounds, the gaping wounds, all that stuff. The commission's reliance on the magic bullet theory, and who was that? Who was it? Who came up with the magic bullet theory? A single bullet caused 7 wounds to both Kennedy and Connolly. It's been criticized forever as being absolutely implausible. And this, I think there was a 2023 revelation. There was a Secret Service agent named Paul Landis. There's always somebody who comes up late, who claimed to have found a bullet in the limousine rather than on Connolly's stretcher. Remember that one? Further undermining this. Always keep them guessing. That's the bottom line. The 2025 files add to this disbelief, this skepticism, by including these testimonies suggesting that a shot may have originated from, of course, the grassy knoll. We didn't know what a knoll was. You knew Chuck Knoll was. Nobody knew what a knoll was. Sparky says, speaking of Tulsi, wasn't she in India when the U.S. bombed Yemen? Is that significant? Was she kept out of the loop by your boys Rubio and Waltz? Not my boys. I don't know. Do you think she has anything to do with it? I don't know. By the way, the bombing of Yemen is the most lame-brained thing one can imagine. Oswald went target shooting USSR and was a terrible shot. So they say. And then you also have his his Marine record. We have all of this stuff, all of these people saying all of these things. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? You see what we're doing? See what we're doing right now? Just now, Willow Sparks said, and wasn't she an Indian? Oh, okay. Anything to mix up the, knock us off. Knock us off. Just knock us off our perch. Lose focus of what we're looking at right now. That's interesting. Is it critical? No. 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 Do you ever go to a doctor, get a lab report, you go, what are all these figures? Don't worry about them. But it's interesting. They throw them in just, I guess, to justify their work. In any event, dear friends, think very, very carefully what we're saying right now. And so many people they have a very difficult time following what's going on because they really, honest to God, thoroughly enjoy this thing about just going all over. They're like kids with attention deficit disorder or something, if that makes any sense. Kids with attention deficit disorder. Very strange. But listen to this. If you're watching this, consider yourself warned. Food prices are about to explode, and the time to prepare is now. Listen, go to preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com and secure your 4-week emergency food supply now while supplies last. With new tariffs, listen to me, with new tariffs slamming the global market and inflation spiraling, your grocery bill is about to skyrocket. When the crisis hits, shelves will be empty, and those who didn't prepare will be left desperate. History proves it. Every major economic collapse, every supply chain disruption, the first thing to go is food. You do not want to be waiting in government lines, hoping there's enough left for you and your family. This 4-week emergency food kit delivers over 2,000 calories per day, ensuring you have the nutrients you need and your family needs to weather the storm. It's fortified for survival, packed in rugged, long-term storage containers, and can last up to 25 years. So when disaster strikes, you'll be ready. Order today, and you'll get 4 free 72-hour food kits. That's 12 extra days of meals at no cost. The regular price is $346.80, but right now you get it for just $247. Don't wait until it's too late. Go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com, and lock in your emergency food supply before the real panic begins. Our good friend Rand Anthony Kelly says, before Oliver Stone's JFK, there was executive action in 1973. Go watch that. No, you go watch that. I watched that. I remember I was in high school. Do you know how preposterous that is? Would you sit around with a bunch of people plotting to kill the president? Remember Will Geer, Robert Ryan? Will Geer, a commie. Remember him? Anyway, seriously. If you sat up and said, hi, what's going on here? What is this? We're going to talk about this. Oh, no, I'm out of here. See ya. No. We're going to be sitting in a room with a bunch of people plotting. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. The most ridiculous thing in the world. Remember a couple of rules. If you know the name of somebody, they weren't involved in it. The people who were actually involved, the names of the shooters, the ones who actually did things, the ones who were, you want somebody kind of extraneous for their benefit and yours. You don't want somebody from the CIA. You don't need to go to the CIA. They've got other things. They've got other people. Sparky, by the way, says, interesting thing about Oswald's rifle is it had a bad reputation because most Americans used the wrong ammo in it, in which was a hair too small, resulting in the bullet rattling down the barrel. Well, I think, Sparky, they called it, if I recall correctly, the gun that never hurt anyone. It had a 3-inch drop per 100, whatever it was. I mean, it was really bad. It's just a nasty, terrible, horrible gun. But that's a part of it. But nobody cares. Remember, what was his name? Heidel or whatever? Who bought it? Whatever. Remember the picture in the backyard? Remember that? Remember the picture where they looked at the convergence of the shadows? Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. You tell me. Even things thrown in to make you think they didn't do that. Even things to throw, even stuff to throw into the mix that make you doubt whether he did it, actually make you doubt whether he did it. Because remember, Americans cannot differentiate irrelevant. When you're trying a case, I know people don't want to hear this, but you have relevancy and materiality all the time. And relevancy is the tendency in logic to prove or disprove a material issue. In fact, the material and materiality is something which has a bearing on the case. So you always get collateral extraneous stuff. It doesn't make any difference. That's not the focal point at all. We hear this all the time. I've given you this story repeatedly, how they've said years ago, they said, red wine is so good for your health because these Italian people or these French people drink 1 glass of red wine a day. And they live to be 80s. And they say, that's not the reason why they live to be 80. They live to be 80 because they have the stricture and the discipline to drink 1 glass. How do people who don't drink at all do it? They did even better. Again, your ability to focus on somebody will pick something up. And say, oh, that's interesting. They'll also say, remember the story about how and this is very interesting. Why was Kennedy in the front car? Kennedy should be in the middle part of the car. Does that make any difference? Kennedy was in the front car. Should have been in the back. If I'm the guy at the grassy knows, I don't care. In fact, I would prefer somebody in front of him so they can slow it down to give me an easier shot. What difference does it make to me whether you're in the front or the back? If I'm going to hit you, I don't care. But they do that. Remember the Secret Service agent who was waved off? And he goes, well, what about this? No, keep going. Okay. And what about George Herbert Walker Bush? He was in Dallas. What difference does that make? Oh, he was there. Well, then what about people who was, I think he was meeting, wasn't he meeting with the bin Laden family on 9/11? Wasn't John Hinckley's family meeting with Bush? And okay, what does that mean? I don't know. You keep looking over there. That's interesting. That's not what I'm interested in. I want the physical evidence. Where'd the bullet come from? And who was there when the bullet came from there? I don't give a damn about Oswald was screwing some. I don't care about that. What difference does it make? Sparky says, with the correct ammo, it was a decent intermediate range rifle, but 9 out of 10 stores in the U.S. didn't carry the correct ammo. Interesting, but also that wasn't the rifle that was used. So great, but too bad they didn't use a Mannlicher Carcano. That wasn't what. That's the rifle that matched the mail order. That's not the one he used. So they're going to say it like this. So right now, the real assassins they think we used that gun. What difference does it make? Fine, use them right there, the wrong one. That's interesting. Nobody used nobody used the man. The bullet came from the front and the side, not the back. Who cares? But that's interesting. It's also the worst gun in the world. Why would you pick that one? Why would you pick this stupid gun, not a Remington? At least have somebody say, well, that's a good one. Why would this Marine sniper pick this obscure Italian gun from a mail order with it? What? It doesn't make any sense. But what it does is it throws us off. You see what we did just now? You see what we did? We were thrown off course, thrown off just for a moment. We're talking about, bullets and magic bullets. And okay, that's interesting. That goes to what we know. We know that wasn't what hit him. And now the question is, and this is important, Connolly was hit for sure. Did any bullet come from the back? Most, maybe. Did it come from Lee Harvey Oswald? No, because remember, forget this back wound and the grassy knoll. Could any of those wounds? You got to explain. Connolly was hit too. Great, go over there. Don't worry about it. The bottom line is Lee Harvey Oswald in that perch didn't do it. Now remember the 1979 findings also, which you have to be read in pari materia with this, as we say. The House Select Assassinations Committee, House Select Committee on Assassinations. It concluded there was, quote, a high probability of a second shooter. What the hell are you doing? High probability. Based on acoustic evidence. Well, that acoustic evidence, that was a waste of time. Remember that somebody left their microphone open on the motorcycle? No. These findings are significant. They're okay because they directly contradict it. You see, more information. And whenever I throw something in, it changes the direction. Now we're going to say, well, let's talk about the acoustic evidence. No, let's don't. Don't worry about that. Forget that. Doesn't matter. It's just like when we're arguing with Ocasio-Cortez. She's a Marxist. No, she's not. Forget it. Don't bring up Marxist. Focus on what she's doing. Don't change the argument in whether she's a socialist or a Marxist. No. We're changing the subject. Don't do that. Don't do this. We have forgotten the Warren Commission. Who cares what the Warren Commission says? I don't care what it says. It doesn't matter. Why are we still talking? I mean, we know, but it doesn't matter. Oswald did not act alone. He wasn't even the shooter. And the presence of a second shooter or the real shooter would necessitate the involvement of course, additional people, additional parties, pointing to a conspiracy that the government has consistently denied. Why do you think the government would consistently deny that there was another shooter? Because they were the other shooter. Hello. So the release doesn't identify the second shooter or the real shooter or any of that stuff or the extent of the conspiracy, but it does provide enough evidence to render the lone gunman fantasy specious. This is not a new conclusion for those who have paid any amount of attention to this. And there's books. There was one, James Douglas's JFK and the Unspeakable. It long argued that Kennedy was killed by elements within his own security apparatus. That's good. Throw that one out there. But the release makes this perspective more accessible to a broader audience, which is okay. People love to do this. Perhaps the most profound impact maybe of the release of this yesterday is its effect on public perception of the government and intel agencies. That's what's critical. You see, for many Americans, particularly those who were previously unaware, kind of innocent, those folks unaware of the assassination's complexities, the documents serve as kind of a wake-up call. Maybe they reveal a pattern of confusion and obfuscation and lost leaders and diversion and sleight of hand and prestidigitation and don't look here, don't look there. And maybe this explains why we have no trust in this. Remember, if you let people talk, just like now, just let people start talking. They'll bring up stuff, complicate the issues. They'll talk, not that it's important. Ammunition, affairs, whether it was to kill Connolly. Somebody was, I heard one, what? And then we're like the little cat with the pen light that runs over here, and then we run over here. And we just keep doing that. The Warren Commission, just forget the Warren Commission. Forget it. It's like being an expert in the Articles of Confederacy. Who cares? The Warren Commission failed to adequately investigate even the possibility of a conspiracy, meaning two or more people. Not even him, not even another lone gunman, but two or more people, period. Remember, I don't think there was a lone gunman ever. You could say it was another lone gunman, I would bet anything, that Lee Harvey Oswald knew nothing. Didn't know they were going to do this. Didn't know he would. When he said I was a patsy, he was like, what, 24 years old? He said, I didn't shoot anybody. I did the first thing. And then the story with Jack Ruby to get him. And Jack Ruby, they said, I'm about to tell you. And by the way, who ran that? Carlos Marcello. And Carlos, and if anybody was, oh my God, the person that hated Bobby Kennedy more than anybody was Carlos Marcello, who had him picked up and dropped into what? Not Guadalajara. He was born. I think he was born in Tunisia originally, but they had him dropped. He wasn't an American citizen. In the middle of the night, Bobby Kennedy picked him up and dropped him into South America, barefoot, fell on his way back. In fact, I think Marcello had a trial that day. Remember also, Life magazine was about to expose LBJ on the very day I think he was meeting with the board, or he was talking to people. Either LBJ, or somebody was talking to the folks from Life magazine on that day, and they said, just as they were reviewing the information that would destroy him because of his radio stations and the blind trusts and everything else, just then they found out Kennedy's dead. You're the president now. Took care of that investigation. So was that interesting? Sure, that's interesting. What does that mean? I don't know. The guy in Pennsylvania who supposedly shot President Trump seemed like he may have unknowingly been tasked with playing the Oswald role. Well, the only problem with that is when they heard this, I believe, forgive me if I'm wrong, but he was there shooting, and I don't know if the rounds were found in the people that were killed. I don't know. All I know is he's no more. I don't know. But Lee Harvey Oswald, and by the way, I think it was his uncle. Remember, it was New Orleans was where Marcello ran that as well. And New Orleans, by the way, one of the reasons why they love Sicilians have always loved New Orleans is because it reminds them of Sicily, the way the water is connected and the like. Steve Bolden says, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. Yeah. Did W.C. Fields say that? It doesn't sound like something he would say, but I've certainly have heard that. It's not only that. Just confuse people, throw things out. People can't follow what's important and what's not. You'll throw something out. Hey, look at this. There's this document that says Ben Gurion and the nuclear bomb. Oh, there's somebody. Who was it? I don't want to say his name, but it's somebody who supposedly is respected on X or whatever. And he said, "Oh, Israel did it. Israel did it? Why did Israel do it? Well, because of this." That's the reason why. People don't know how to see this plus this. That doesn't mean anything. The National Archives summary of the finding is now important too. Did you see when it came out yesterday and I saw the listings, conversation, they classify everything. It's a limited hangout. You feel, how many, do you feel like you were like, wow, we got to the bottom of that one? Huh? The CIA's admission of a cover-up, coupled with its failure to act on intelligence about Oswald, paints a picture of an intel agency more concerned with protecting its interests. And by the way, you know what the CIA is going to do? Nothing. They're going to say, that's not our fault. That was a long time ago. Charlie Kelly says, because of the missed shot, found, believe there were 3+ shooters. Well, That's okay. Could be, yeah. There was also the idea of the fellow in the sewer. Remember that one? See, when I do this, just now when we're doing this, see what I did? I just threw that out. I go, oh, you go over here. I say, no, stay over here. Stay over here. We'll get to that in a moment. Could be, could be, could be, could be this, could be that, could be this. Watch the men who, like the fellow with the New Orleans Saints hat with the feather, who was standing there, who says he was a Marine. No, excuse me, he was a soldier who was at the site. What am I trying to say? He was at the site of the. Oh, what am I trying to say? He was at the site of a of the grassy knoll when somebody came and moved him, and lo and behold, it was Badge Man. And then later on, you got to see this. Then there was the deaf fellow, and okay. So what do we know? We don't know anything. All I can tell you, guarantee, is that the Warren Commission is a waste of time. Is a complete and total waste of time. And most probably, the gun, the bullets, and the rounds came from a different direction. And the CIA, to an extent, is always going to protect itself. But in a weird way, they kind of like the fact that, look kind of what we did. You see, the growing awareness of government, nefariousness is kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, that's great. On one hand, it empowers citizens and folks to question, whatever the official narrative is, and to demand transparency. On the other hand, it deepens the mistrust that people like us have felt for years. Let me explain to you what happened. Remember those intel officers who basically came, who said that that they all believed in the Hunter Biden story? If you believe in anybody, in the intel people, you're out of your mind. And believe it or not, it's not just CIA, it's State Department too, and it's other groups that have nothing to do with the usual story. Harry S. Truman wrote in the Washington Post in 1963, and he said the CIA's action, he hated the CIA, turned into a symbol of sinister and mysterious foreign intrigue. So the release does little to dispel anything. Instead, it kind of reinforces the belief that the government has never told the truth. And if you didn't know that, but I think there's something also important from kind of in the legalistic sense. The release raises questions about, I hope, accountability and the rule of law and that sort of thing. Because remember, most people know, especially after what was happening to President Trump, nobody believes these people in the first place. Charlie says, I got here late, typo, being rushed. Okay. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So here's the best part. Here is the best part. I think it's wonderful that we say, aha. I hope this invigorates a thorough and an exhaustive demand for the truth, not just with JFK, but with everything. Also understand the role of Nixon with Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was not necessarily going to give Nixon the pardon that he thought he deserved. Interestingly enough, Nixon supposedly sent the message to Gerald Ford that says, I know what you did regarding the Warren Commission when you moved the bullet wound from the back to make it line up, and okay, that's that theory. Again, throws you off. That's interesting. You can go into that. Always ask yourself, what do we know? What's the bottom line? The bottom line is that nobody believes in these single gunmen, lone gunmen. That's it. The idea, the theory that was propounded by your government, nobody believes. That's the most important thing. Now, is that all the evidence? Maybe, maybe not. Why couldn't they have done this with Epstein? I have no idea. Maybe because people are still around, people are alive. I don't know. Who knows? We can guess all day long. But the good news is that this has inspired people not to believe this. Don't believe your government, because no matter how great Rubio or Cash or Bon Jovi or whatever, all these people, the deep state's still there as well. The people that work there, they're saying, who are you? They have these institutional types who are hanging around. Do you believe the CIA? No. What are you talking about? Do you believe the CIA? Do you trust the Secret Service? No. Do you trust anybody? No. But it's better than it was. A lot better than it was. And there you have it, my friend. So thank you so much for this. It was such a wonderful day. Charlie Calais, appreciate it. Steve Boland, Sparky, Stranger, where have you been? Thanks for coming around. Rand Anthony Kelly, Chris Cox, I thank you. Let me see. Phantomus Fanta, I appreciate that. Let me see. Pilgrim Media, The Wild Man, Therese Pollard, Cut Up Chatter, KL, Raul Rodriguez. Thank you. Don't forget to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Wait a minute. Well, Miss Sparky says, I think there were several different conspiracies to kill JFK who were unaware of each other. Now, why would you say that? JFK was seen as a huge threat to the status quo. Each group was astonished that someone beat them to it. You have no reason to believe that. That might be a good movie plot. There's no reason to believe that at all. No reason to think that for a moment. Multiple, coordinated, simultaneous plots to kill him on that day. Keeping in mind, I think it was Tampa, Miami. There were others as well. That's just, you know what that's called? I love you. Pulling it out of your ass. You know, I think that maybe they had a group of people. There's no evidence of that. None. Could be. A lot of things could be. Mac Wallace could. Well, I don't even know about that. But see, we're not writing a movie script here. We're not coming up with, okay, I got one for you. How about Bobby Kennedy wanted to do it because Bobby was always jealous? Yeah. So you want to keep doing this? We can go on. Wait a minute. I got a better one. It really wasn't him. They were actually looking to get Jackie because what? Or it was really to get Connolly. Or maybe it was none of that. Maybe it was just another guy and they came up with this Oswald thing because they didn't want to look like they were so incompetent that they missed some chidrulo on the. We can do this all day long. I got it. It was the wrong ammunition, but that wasn't the weapon they used to shoot him. Well, still could be. Or they wanted to implement, or maybe somebody was going to short the Mannlicher Carcano stock, or we can just do. That's not my game. I don't want to do that. This is how we get in trouble. This is where we all go. Make a case for Israel. Now, I know, irrespective of what you feel about Gaza, Palestine, that's another story. But the Ben Gurion angle, that's my favorite. Where'd you get that? Well, because that's it. Ben Gurion picked up the phone and said, I'm going to do this. Wait a minute. They weren't coordinated. Many wanted JFK dead for their own reasons. Many want everybody dead for their own reasons. You can't be everybody. Nobody wanted Truman. Nobody wanted FDR. That's not a good enough reason. That's a given. That's why we have Secret Service. So this doesn't help us. This is just a kind of a thought. This is where we go with this all the time. When we talk about 9/11, for example, 9/11 comes down to very specifically this: physical evidence, not what you thought, not dancing Israelis, and there was that the Rumsfeld couldn't account for the $1 trillion. That's no. That's nice. That might be motivation. I want evidence. Motivation really is irrelevant to me. It's like hate crimes. I don't care why you hit somebody. Did you hit them? We have to teach critical thinking. And you have to think in a linear way when it comes to finding out who did what. It comes down to same thing with Gene Hackman. I loved it. The Gene Hackman story is fantastic. A lot of questions. I don't know. I'm not there. I haven't read it. But people are saying, oh, I think it's murder. Why? Well, because, why? I don't know why I said that. Well, why'd you say it was murder? I don't know. I just said it because I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about. People are the worst. And we live in this world where we supposedly are into this CSI stuff. By the way, Mrs. L today live at 4 p.m. Eastern time on the Lynn's Warriors. But let me just tell you this. You see what we're doing? Well, it could be. Could be. It all comes down to physical. I don't care what you say. 9/11 was one of the most important days in the world because because either Rudy Giuliani did this deliberately or whatever it is, but he had all of that steel. He had a crime scene basically cleaned up. When they clean up a crime scene, all of the steel, all of it put on trucks. They had GPS transponders in the days when they didn't really have it, and they had to go from the World Trade Center to, I think, Fishkill, Staten Island. That's where they went. They could not stop anywhere. Take this metal and this twisted steel and beams and get it out of here. That was a crime scene. No. Get it out. What does that mean? Nothing. It just makes me say, Sparky says, Israel was one of the conspiracies. Were they the one that succeeded? Why did we know they were a conspiracy? There's no evidence that Israel was a conspirator or that CIA was a conspirator. You might think so. You might say, I wouldn't be surprised. That's not evidence. There's no evidence of CIA. Nothing. There's a lot of people around here. It would make sense, but just because somebody is a suspect doesn't mean they did it. See, that's where we go. We always take from suspicion, we jump to aha. That's what happened. This is one of those things where, back to 9/11, as an example, Larry Silverstein, yep, he did it. Why? Well, because wait a minute. How do you know he did anything? Well, because he said, pull it. Wait a minute. You have to have proof of something. Well, that's good enough for me. Well, it's not good enough for me. It's a good reason to look, but that doesn't tell you anything. That gives you probable cause, not reasonable doubt. That sends you off. That's that's a good clue. That's a good clue. Did you ever talk to about John Benet Ramsey? That's the best. People just wow. Diddy. People are the worst when it comes to this. What about Diddy? Well, Diddy, he's going to give up the good. Give up what? Well, because they just say things. And they've never stopped and said, let me see. What do I know about Diddy? What do I know about John Benet Ramsey? What do I know about 9/11? What do I know about whatever it is? What do I know about this? What do I really understand? What do I know? Why we're not getting into detail about the presidential assassination attempt is beyond me. That's fresh. It's happening now. All these people, lock them in, grand jury it now before people forget. What are we doing? I don't understand this. I don't get it. Remember Seth Rich? What was that about? Michael Hastings. What was that about? Just go down the list. We just don't. I don't understand it. I would lock that in so fast while it's fresh in everybody's mind. Subpoenas go out, impanel it, quiet, spend all the time you want. Do it, take a year. Secret, behind closed doors, nobody knows what you're doing. Why they do, I have no earthly idea. And also, why is Bobby Kennedy, maybe I've missed it, has he said anything? He's just so, well, that red dye number 4. Who gives a shit about red dye number 4? What are you talking about? What about geoengineering? I don't know about that. But we're going to go into those food additives. That's not why you're here, because of food additives. What about Fauci? What about the vaccines? What about the? Do you see Dr. Oz? What is he going to be doing? By the way, some people look better with the gray hair. He does. I always wonder about this. Like, why do they do that? Trump looks great with gray hair. Trump looks terrific. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you see where we're going with this? We need to have classes on how to think in a linear way to show critical thinking and not get off into this stuff that doesn't matter. This what if, and maybe that, and could be, and well, I love that. George Bush was meeting with the Hinckley family or whatever. And do you think that he had something to do with John Hinckley? I don't know. Well, it's kind of interesting. The two cases which I think are the most interesting that nobody ever talks about is MK Ultra with Sirhan Sirhan and John Lennon. Nobody's going there. Because it sounds crazy. In any event, thank you, my friend. What a wonderful day. I want you to be smarter, think, and remember, our job is not just to throw things out. It's to say, how do we prove this? Prometheus forever says, the man who killed Kennedy was the one that grabbed me. That's when I was listening to that early this morning on my phone. It's the greatest. It's absolutely, I think, the greatest one there is. Especially when you see these people who at the time were putting together this information, and especially the fellow who says, I was standing there and this guy comes up and he tells me to move out of the way and tells me, wow, that sounds pretty good to me. But the bottom line is simply this, before we end, and I know everybody wants to be funny because people absolutely want more than anything else to be funny. And you see it a lot here, and I appreciate this. Is there anybody, wait a minute, Debbie Wasserman says, Sparky, Debbie Wasserman Schultz had her goons, the Awan brothers, shoot. Okay. He was finished off in the, okay. Well, you know what? Those are pretty, good stories. And again, you should perhaps be able to prove that. I know it sounds juicy, and I know based upon your particular modality of concern, but I need a little bit more than that. Okay? Now, here's my question, which is the most issue. How many today is there anyone who actually believes that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone shooter and nobody else? Is there anybody right now, anybody who says, and don't feel bad and don't be cute. I know people love to be funny but is there anybody really who really believes this? Does anybody really believe that? William says, O or zero, I don't know. There's not one. There's nobody who can rationally believe. It doesn't even make sense. It's one of those ones that we don't know who the person is. And we do, and you could say, well, look, I'll give you Lee Harvey Oswald was involved, but he wasn't alone. And by the way, he wasn't alone. Now, could he have not been alone and not knew he was, not known he was alone? Meaning, because if all of a sudden he says, he's out there doing his thing, and all of a sudden he's shooting, and all of a sudden he hears, wait a minute, there's other people here. They're going to blame me for it. Could it be that? I can't rule it out, but the idea that he on his own did all those shots, no, not in the least. But that's what your government said. Okay? All right, dear friends. Have a great and a glorious day. Thank you for your excellent views. Don't forget Mrs. L today at 4 p.m. on Lynn's Warriors. Make sure you're subscribed here. Until then, remember, my friend, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Ta-ta.